All right. Oh, I have to refresh this. Give me 1 second. My overlay. Okay, thank you. No. My PC was just like, do you recommend this Windows PC to a friend or colleague? Well, the PC, yeah, the operating system. I could do without. I was like, I apparently started OBS before I started Spotify, and so there's like a thing where it won't show up. What was it? The little now playing widget, and apparently it's not liking. I think probably what happened is, so I'm using render.com to host all this, and I'm currently using the free plan because I'm like, do I want to pay $7 a month? I'm not sure yet, and also I only use this for like 1 day a week. But the problem is that it falls asleep if it after 15 minutes of not use. And like the sneaky thing is, whenever the thing is running up here, it keeps it. There we go. It keeps it from falling asleep because it's constantly changing that every time the song changes. So it keeps it awake. But we have that running now. So yeah. So it took a little bit of time for the thing to spin up. And then it finally refreshed. Okay. Hello. Happy Wednesday? No, we never do Wednesdays. Happy Tuesday. I am back. I spent the weekend in Indiana, home of corn, which, fun fact, should be knee-high by the 4th of July. That's how you gauge whether, I don't know, your corn is growing like it should. Hey, Sabin. But I went back. It was my niece's graduation, so had a graduation party for her, which is good for me because like all of my family goes to one place, and so I can just see them all at one time, and I don't have to travel all over Indiana to do that. Yeah, and then we went to the Indianapolis Pride Festival. I got a really cute corgi sticker, which I have not unpacked yet. So yeah, I can't show you that, but it's really cute. I'm tempted to like contact the artist and see if I can get like as a digital copy, so I can like do things with it. Because it's like it's a tricolor corgi, which is rare to find, with a rainbow cape, which is really cute. But as it turns out, the reason it's a tricolor corgi is because the artist has tricolor corgis and they breed them. Which is pretty cool. So yeah, lots of stuff happening over the weekend. But back in streaming land, we're going to take a look at what we can do next on this charity activations app. So we're going to take a look at the milestone. We have 7 items left. We will be tackling one of those this week on Friday. So Friday will be the first episode of Distributed Tea Time with me and my colleague Rob, who lives in England. So the whole thought is we are a distributed team, but I will be having my morning tea and he'll be having his afternoon tea. And we'll talk about CockroachDB and other things. And so it'd be a great place if you have questions about really anything, because I come from the full stack developer side. Rob comes from like the database architect, back-end engineer, and he knows a lot more about this database than I do. And so like I'm constantly learning. It's a great place to ask your questions. So maybe we'll see you Friday at 9:30 Eastern time, AM. Or if you are in London, it is going to be at 2:30 p.m. London time. So we got that nice little overlap where we can kind of get at least 2 coasts. Sorry to all the people who might live on the West Coast. Yeah, so let's get going, because I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. I did like very little prep, and it actually didn't take me very long to set this up, so it leads me to believe that something might be wrong. But we'll find out. Yeah. Or maybe I'm just getting used to it. Who knows? All right, let's swap over. I'm getting a lot of like notifications. Okay. No, it seems to be fine. Okay. Hello, MVP for publication. Well, I don't think you want to watch me update the README. That's no fun. So for some of these things, they're very dependent on the other ones. So the first thing that we need to kick off for some of these is we need to migrate to a multi-region CockroachDB serverless cluster. And that's what we're going to be doing on Friday with the help of Rob. We'll be going through like, what is multi-region serverless, and what regions do I need to make sure that I am using, and other questions like that. So I'll have my questions, you can come with your questions. It'll be a fun time. We'll migrate this database. So currently I'm using Courteous Corgi, which is a single region database cluster, but we have aspirations of using this application in 2 continents. So we want to be able to like make the experience really nice. Oh, excuse me. So once we get that done, we will switch the deployment platform to support streaming and multi-region deploys. So I'm still debating on 2 different ones. It's probably going to come down to fly.io because I can just switch this to have a Node.js backend. Shouldn't be too difficult. Switch it to having a Node.js backend, deploy it, and then with fly.io, one of the things you can do is add on a second region. You can add multiple regions, but I think we're just going to need 1. Of course, the more regions you add, the more cost it is. But what we want to do is add more deploy regions close to the regions where we're going to be expanding our database. And then once we have that done, probably around the same time, is implement CDC with webhook sync for real-time data. We'll probably do this one second because we're waiting on the serverless to use the new 23.1 version, because there was some enhancements for the webhook sync for CDC that went out. That was part of 23.1, and webhook CDC went GA officially in 23.1. So I want to make sure I'm using like all the newest stuff. But with that, we'll be able to take out the Hashira subscriptions, clean up some code a little bit, and manage all of that with CockroachDB. And it will make sure that we're doing it in a distributed way. So that's those. Support offline development. That's another thing that we're going to tackle on the other show. But that's basically just going to be where we show you how to spin up a local single node cluster and connect to it while you're developing. So, how to move data back and forth. That might be interesting. But what we want to do is make it to where when you develop, you're not reliant on having the internet, which right now I've been developing against serverless, and you got to have the internet for that to work. So I basically went through all of the good stream issues. So I think what we're going to have to do is just pick something that's not such a great stream issue. Roles and permissions, I still think I need to think through how I want that to work. Because there's the ways that kind of we do it, but I feel like I'm going to have to modify the data model to handle it. I'm not sure how I want to do all of that. I have started it in a different branch, which is just probably like very stale now. So let's handle multiple remix auth strategies. This is something that they're doing on the Epic stack as well. And so there's a discussion over there about how they're going to do that. And it's really what we want to store in the database. I have a different project. So actually the Stream Scenes project, I have something like that for multiple auth, but the thing is I'm storing just really like them as services. So I'm just using form authentication, and then I'm having where you can connect these different services. So, Oh, hold on. I was gonna say like the juke post or the now playing widget, but I have to refresh this one too. Come on. Bloop. There we go. So it's up there now. Yeah, so I'm storing those in the database, similar to how you would with the auth, but kind of waiting to see how that shakes out, because again, we're gonna have to change up the database, probably add another table to keep all of this, and figure out how to do it. So I think, you know what, there was one that I didn't include that maybe I want to investigate today. So let's go back to actually just all of the issues. And there's the one around conform. So I put it as an enhancement because right now the validation is working. It's just not working to the best of the ability because the components that I wrote, they're not just like native form fields. And so I was like, maybe I can look into that. Because right now they do like return a hidden, basically it's a hidden field that has all of the data in there, and then that can be validated. But like the stuff inside the components itself cannot be validated. And now that I'm talking about this, I'm like, is this the thing that I want to do? So yeah, so kind of blocked on some of the infrastructure things. Oh, what do I want to do? So let's go back to the milestone. I really just need to stick to the milestone, or else this is never going to get done. We have 7 open items. And between now and the next stream, I just need to like update the README so that way I can get this one off there and we can stop talking about it. See, roles and auth strategies. What can I do? Let's see. There's. Because right now, like thinking about the roles and permissions, right now everybody who signs on is automatically an admin. And that's probably not a good thing, but then you have to stop and think about the different permissions. And so we could make it really easy to where the admin role has all the permissions, like admins usually do. And then we could have kind of a standard role where you can view the events, but you can't edit them or create them, but you would also have access to the leads. So if you go into an event that has leads, you can go in and update the scoring of the lead and add comments. And I think that's kind of like the very basic roles and permissions. We could take it a step further, and I think I like wrote some of this out. We could take it a step further and like do a scanner. So a scanner, like maybe the base role that we give everybody is scanner, and that allows them to have access to the lead information. And then an event lead would also be able to create events. So maybe should we start? Maybe we can start with that. Let's take a look. So the scanner is something we could probably add later, especially if we get the way the permissions and roles are set up. Then it should be easy to like create new roles. And we can see if my branch is too stale. So let's go over. Oh, you're what I want. I did just update all of the npm things. So let me. So like git status here. Yeah, I did a npm update, or outdated actually. npm outdated earlier, and I upgraded all of those things, but I didn't commit it because I was like, I'm going to be working on it. Yeah, so let me just go ahead and git commit am. Oh wow, dependency updates. Apparently I've done this before. And I'm going to push. And what did I call that branch? Git branch. Roles and permissions. What a great name for a branch. So let's get out of that. Git checkout roles. Roles and permissions. There we go. And then what I'm going to do, because it's probably behind the main, is I'm just going to pull the main into it. So git pull origin main. Hopefully there's nothing that we have to like resolve. Great. Another thing, well, no, wait. I've been working between two projects, and so I might get confused on where I have been. So let's take a look at what Oh yeah, these are the changes that we did last week. That's what's not been pulled in. So let's take a look. The first thing is I did make some changes in Prisma. So now we have a role table. So it's got a name, created ad, update, and then roles have permissions. And so we have a permissions table, and the permission has a name. And so I'm modeling this off of how they're doing it in the Epic stack. Seems like a good way to do it. And so we need to use these roles and permissions to do different checks. And I think that's where I got a little, because we need to have these rules and permissions like on the front end, so we can be like, let's not show that, add button. And I guess I could pass those in. So these are the schema changes, which have not been pushed to the database yet. And then the rest of this is our other stuff. That's our view. You know what? Real quick before this trips me up, since I switched the branch and I updated things, I'm going to do npm install. So many times I go back and forth between machines, and I pull something in and change the package.json, and I forget to run that. Cool. So that post install hook went ahead and regenerated our Prisma client, which could be a problem right now because we haven't synced up the way with the database. Yeah, so one thing we need to do is whenever a new user is created, we want to make sure that we add the role for, let's say, scanner instead of admin. And then we're just going to have to make a way to where somebody can kind of be promoted to admin, so their role gets changed. What else did I add in this? Oh, so many things. I think it's in the utils. So there's permissions. And then, let's see, require user with permission, which takes the name of the permission and the request. The thing that confused me, I was sitting here staring at this for a long time, because they have a role name admin and a permission name admin. And so it didn't really line up in my brain. But this is kind of just like our get user or require user call. And so it's going to attempt to see if they have that. Otherwise it's going to throw and return or return the user. So we can do an await on that to check and see if they should be here. And then from this we can make kind of more role-based ones. So they have one that is require admin, and so this is requires the admin permission, not the admin role. And so that might be something about how they have set up kind of roles and permissions. So like maybe there isn't an admin role. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to go back and look. This is why I said that this is probably not gonna be fun to watch me to do. And I think that's most of the changes that I have made. I don't really know. Let's see. Did I go into here? So the login form, that's the button, the login type. Okay, so it's over here in auth.server.db. So here's the required user. So that just checks to make sure that there's somebody logged in. And if they're not, it does a redirect. And we got to figure out like what that kind of the second option is. So like if you're access is denied, like what are you doing? Okay, so in our Okta strategy here, we have where if somebody logs in, we're going to do an upsert because there's not really a sign up. So what we're trying to do is just record them in the database. So we're creating a user in the database for that. And so this is what we're going to end up having to change a little bit. So what we're saying is we're doing an upsert, but we're not updating anything. I guess we could choose to, like, if somebody, double check that somebody's name is the same, we could just update that every time that they log in. Probably not the best thing to do. And then we're returning, all of this information, which I actually went in my other project and changed it to where instead of taking the auth strategy, taking user without password, where it's storing all of this information in the cookie. I just did the ID because, as it turns out, most of the time you're just pulling the ID out of that anyway. So I might go through and change that as well. You know what? Let's do that. Let's make that change. Because I was thinking about it as I was doing the other one, and I was like, I need to do this on the other one too. So I'm going to actually switch back over to the main branch. So git checkout main. Except you do need to type checkout properly. Cool. So the fun part about this is whenever you're changing the information that's stored in the cookie, you have to like log out and log back in. And so this is why I'm really glad that I put a login route. That's just the get route, because then you can just type it in and it will log you out, as opposed to like making it a post route where you have to have basically a button to clear the logout stuff. It is very warm down here today. I'm gonna turn on this fan and hope that it does something. So if you hear like a whooshing noise, it's just my fan. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go back over here, and I think I'm gonna run npm install again, just because we switched back and forth. And then it's gonna regenerate. Cool. So what I want to do is back where we were in the auth server. We're gonna go back up here, and so this is all Remix auth. And so if you're creating Remix applications and you want to do different kinds of authentication, I recommend just starting with this, because there's different strategies. And so this is based off of, some of you might have used it back in the day, Passport.js. And so this is just like the Remix version of it. But there are different strategies. So there's the form strategy if you just want to use username and password. There's Okta, there's Spotify, there's Twitch, there's Twitter. Probably don't want to use Twitter right now. But the different social strategies that you can log in using that. Google, so if you want people to log in with their Google account. So, all of that. But one of the things that we need to do is, so it's going to be in here somewhere. Oh, this is messy. Here we go. So whenever we create a new authenticator, we pass it the type, which is, you know, all the strategies are going to return. And so right now I'm passing it the type of this user without password, and it's giving me back all of this. The only thing that I want is to store the ID, and the ID is a string, so we can just change this to string. And then we have the fun time of chasing down all of these instances that we've now broken. So we don't need this anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and take that out. The commented stuff, that is going to be important for whenever we do the handling the multiple authentication. So the Okta strategy here. So instead of returning all of this, we just need to return the ID. So, right, so here it's mad because it's saying using this, but it's like, oh, we expect it to return just the ID string, or, yeah. So all of this is not assignable to type string. So instead of doing a return here, we're just gonna say const user equals await. I'm gonna get rid of all of this. All I want it to return is the ID. And then we're going to return user.id. All right, and so that should make that happy. But now we need to go down, and instead of require user, it's require user ID. So it should all work the same. Require user ID. Where are we getting that user? So the user, yeah. So I think this is going to return, yeah. It returns the user ID. So I'm just going to rename this user ID, and then this user ID as well, just for things. And so now we got to find, it's basically going down and finding all of these instances where we've used require user, and change those to use require user ID. And you'll find out that there's like a lot of like silly stuff where like we've only called it just because we want the ID. So I don't know why I like stuffed all of that stuff in there. So let's just do a big find, and we're gonna look for require user ID, or sorry, require user. And we're just gonna go down and fix them all. So this is now require user ID. This is, this one actually is a little bit more. So this is in the loader, and this is probably a good thing too, because I talked about how we're gonna need to know like what permissions they have so we can hide and show elements. And this is where we will end up grabbing all of that, because we're using, I think, we're not passing it down for the outlet, but we could use the outlet context to grab that and hide and show things, I think. So I'm trying to see like what is it that we are, what is it that we need here from the user, because I think are we just using the first name? Yeah, so that's, we can do better. So let's call this user ID, because this is going to be a string now, and it should be the string user ID. And we can say const user is equal to await Prisma, and then we'll just we'll do a unique, not that, Prisma.user. We'll do a find unique now. And actually I want to do a find unique or throw, because I want it to, Yeah, because I want what we return to be like a user, not like a user or null. Without having to do like a if user throws, I don't know. But I'm trying this out, trying the if user or throw. And so we're gonna do aware, and that's gonna be ID user ID. And then we are going to pull back the stuff that we need. Right now it just looks like first name. So I'm just going to select out, I'm going to select out the ID and the first name, because that's all we're using. So I don't want to bring back a lot of stuff that we're just not going to use right off the bat here. And so this should be the user, and I can put this in a try catch now. Catch. And so let's put this up here. And then in here, if we catch an error, we're going to return new request response, a new response. And we're going to just say like user not found. Probably need to work on a better thing than this, and then we'll do status 404. Okay, and so now whenever we come down here and we got the type of loader, a user is user any. That's not good. Oh, I think that's how I couldn't get it. Like, that's why I didn't use this before. Because I'd have to... You know what? I'm not going to use or throw. It's fine. Shh. Sabin's still out there. Don't look. Because it's very... Like, I'd rather just... How dare you? No. It's. I think it just comes down to like I'm not very good at try catch, or there's just something about like setting it. Yeah. Yeah, because like the yeah, or maybe it's the TypeScript. Yeah, it is an option. I'm still using Prisma. It's not like I swapped it out for something else. Yeah, so that's what I was. That's actually where I was going. But I think it might just boil down to a TypeScript thing. So here, you know, if it it's not being able to infer the type, because in the try, you know, I grab the user and then I just return it. If I catch an error, I'm just throw a new response. But the problem is, like, I don't think it's inferring like what the user. Never mind. I think what the problem was is I was returning instead of throwing in the catch, and so it couldn't do it. You know, let's keep it. We'll keep it. It's fine now. So now we have access to the user.id and first name. Yeah. It's always like a little error that just snowballs. So everything should be fine with this. Long story long. We fixed that instance of it. Yeah. I mean, I'm liking it more and more. So here we got require user again. Require user. Oh, stop. Require user ID. Require user ID. See, like here we're not even doing anything with it, so. Because I want to like say. Oh, whoops, that's why. I have it on the regular expression again. There. Ah, that's what I want. Okay. See, we're just returning a wait request user here. ID. Let's see. Again, we're just awaiting it. Like I said, most of the time we don't even need all this information. I think the only place that we actually used it all was in that layout, and we can just run a query to get it because we can get the latest stuff and more stuff for whatever we need. Here again, we're just awaiting it, so we're not even using the data that it comes back with. I need to remember to hit save on all of these. Same thing here. See, great stuff. To do, is this needed? I should maybe look at all my to-dos at some point too, because I forget that I do that. Cool. See, again here. Why are we storing all that in the cookie? I mean, I'm pretty sure the cookie's encrypted and people can't pull that data out, but what if they could? We'd be giving away, I don't know, your email address, I guess. Again, same thing here. Sometimes you just need to clean up your bad decisions. So here we are grabbing the user, but how are we using it? Is it we just going to grab the ID? And we're just grabbing the ID. That's all that we're using that for. So we're going to change that to const user ID, and then down here, boom. The download. Again, we're just making sure that people are logged in. Require user. Oh no. Require user ID. Again, here we're using it, but I bet it's just we're using the ID. So let me go ahead and change this. And where's that other red mark? Yep. Here we go. Just using the user ID. Yeah, so that's kind of also what made me think. I'm like, anytime that we're using it, except for that one case in layout, we were just using the ID. So why do we carry more on there? Oh, did I forget to rename it? Oh, that's a long one. ID. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so we're going to start off with request user ID. Here we're not using the data that's returned. And user ID. Someone just threw something down the stairs. That's fun. Outside. And I didn't even look. Oh, we're just awaiting it. Cool. So yeah, that's 14 different files that we changed, including the auth. Let's go ahead and clean it up in the form. I think this is just the form login. Yeah, this is the thing that calls the other function. So I think it's all inside this big auth. And I feel like I moved this stuff somewhere else before. Oh, so here you go. So down here, here, where's this user coming from? Authenticator.use, email, password, verify login. So it brings back the user in there. And let's take a look at verify login, which I think is up here. Because the other thing is, like, I have this models and I don't do much with it, but the only thing that's in here is like this stuff. And so I end up like moving this around, put it to where I think makes more sense, because we're not using this anymore. So I can actually just get rid of this. And so whenever I get rid of this, I don't need that. And then verify login. This is what the form uses to check that the username and password's right. Yeah, password hash, compare. If not valid, return null. Yeah, actually, let's go over and see what I did on my other one, because I just went through all of this stuff. Yeah, GitHub, Adrian. It's Adrian Stream Remix. And so what I did was I just made a lot of changes to the auth server. And I basically brought that function over here. So, except this is this also an email? So let's go over to our auth server. There it is. So I can add that import. I want to make sure, so email, user email, yep. So user with password, the ID and the password hash. Oh, that's the other thing that I fixed, is I was just pulling back everything. So I put a select in there. And then bcrypt. Oh, okay, fine. I'll copy it from over here. Bcrypt. Ooh, I might do another type of cleanup using an ESLint file, ESLint. So I have where it will like order the imports, so that way everything's kind of the same from place to place. So we might turn that on and lint some things up. Let's get lint. And then, yeah, we're returning the ID basically from login. Cool. So instead of like all of this stuff, we can actually get rid of that, which means we can get rid of this file now. Don't save. Delete. Hey, welcome. I'm just cleaning up some code today. I thought I was going to be doing, I don't know, something more, but I kind of blocked on some things. We're going to be moving around like some infrastructure, so going from single region to multi-region on the database and on the application, which means I can't deploy this to a Vercel function anymore, or I don't want to. The other part of moving it to a multi-region app deploy is I also want something that supports streams, so I can do like server sent events, because that will help me go from like CockroachDB CDC, which is distributed, to a webhook, which our app is going to be distributed, and then I can take that from the webhook, use server send events to push it to the front end, because there is a bit of interactivity. So yeah, but in the meantime, because we're going to be changing things on Friday during our distributed tea time with me and Rob Reed, so I'm just kind of tidying up the code a little bit. Okay. And then, let's see. So, yeah, we did that. And then, yeah, we're just returning the user.id up here. Because this is basically the same thing. wait, verify login. If not user, we're throwing authentication. Yeah, and I'm updating code that I've commented out right now. So right now we're just using the Okta strategy, but I want to be able to use multiple strategies in the future, but I haven't updated the database to handle that yet. So just trying to keep these things around, so we will have them. What's oh yeah, fix that. Aren't you supposed to fix that whenever I save? Come on. Or is this a situation where you're already pulling from? Fix it. There we go. Yeah. And then I'll just go ahead and copy this function out. Or comment the function out. Because it's all ready for whenever we do the thing. Which means I have to comment these two things out. Cool. All right. So nothing should have changed. Great. So I'm going to put that as a separate commit before I try to do anything else. Very destructive. So let's get status. So we've modified and deleted something that we don't need anymore. So yeah, so git commit switched auth to use ID only instead of user object. Yeah, that will mean something to me later. Cool, so we made that change. Let's do the other fun thing. So we're going to add a rule to our ESLint. So we've got like the no duplicates, that kind of thing. But there is a perfection one that I'm using over here, and I do like it because it orders things, and I like order. So let's go back and see. So for in my ESLint here, this perfectionist recommended natural is the what we're going to end up using. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in since I have this open. And for that to work, I have to install it. So I have to remember what it's called in the package.json. And it is ESLint plugin perfectionist. So let's install that. npm install big D perfectionist. My sister is sending me TikToks while we're doing that. That's fine. And then I want to make sure that we have and so this is the other thing I did is I went in and yeah, we can do a lint, but let's do a lint fix. So that way, this is one that it could just have it automatically go through and fix it, so I don't have to go through file by file. JSON. So here's our lint, and I'm just going to paste in lint fix, which is just lint with -- fix. And so now, if we go in and do lint, let's find my. So I'm just going to go clear this. And so if we do npm run lint, it should show us all of the different lint things. Which I don't know if I've run this on this before. You're currently running. Okay. Did it not come up with anything that? Oh, I didn't save it. Okay. Yeah, you might want to save your lint. Oh, yeah. See. Now we've got like lots of linting errors. Did you just see all those pop up? And it has to do with the order of things. So not only the order of your imports, but the order of properties and things like that. So it kind of puts it into alphabetical order, which is nice. But as you can see, oh gosh, so many things, and not everything is open. And so if I run this again, we'll probably find a lot of stuff. Dun, 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 dun. It's thinking about it. Oh, what do we got? 578 problems. Yeah. And so, good news, 578 errors and 0 warnings potentially fixable with -- fix. So let's run that and just fix it. Fix it! This is fine. Okay. So now if we look at some of these things. Did it not do? Okay, so you can see this has been changed, so that's fine. Same as up here. Let's run the lint again and see if there was anything that it couldn't fix. Okay, looks fine to me. I guess the best way to look at it is to just, let's close everything. Close all. I always end up forgetting to save something, and then I commit and push it, and then it's like, oh, there was one file that I didn't save, so just closing everything. But let's take a look at, I don't know, our charity event picker. So you can see the changes that it made. It ordered these properties here. Well, I guess those are already in order. It just changed the order around. So C, D, I, N, T, V. It'll be nice. And so the other great thing is, like, as you're putting things in and you hit save, it will do that reordering on save. I like it. I like it a lot. But in the meantime, we have like all of these different files that just changed because it went through and reordered them. And it even did, oh, did it do the package JSON? So now we have like the dependencies in order, which really helps me, because if I need to find one, I try to look for it in alphabetical order anyway. I am on the JSON lock, my bad. This is the one I wanted to open. Yeah, I don't know. Perfectionist, that's what it is. So let's go ahead and do another commit. Git commit am added. What is that thing called? Memory of a goldfish. ESLint plugin perfectionist and did -- fix. Cool. All right. What else can we do with this? What else can we do? I'm trying to think of like the other things that I decided that this is how things are going to be. Take a look, because I want to see my, I know I just looked at it, but I didn't look for the right thing. I'm going to look at my utils, auth server. Okay, so the strategies are still in there. Well, yeah, the strategies are still in there. And I do have like a resource route for the form, which I think I did over here too. Routes, resources. Maybe I didn't do it. I don't know. I don't have a sign up or anything for that other one, so it's probably not the best one to look at. Well, something I probably should have done before I did all the commits is let's make sure it's still working. So let's start her up npm run dev. Oh, remix feature change. Yeah, it does not like the Apollo client. I can tell you that. Cool. Did I update conform? One thing I need to check. There's a problem with conform that's coming out in the next version, and in the interim I need to use the like alpha beta release or whatever to make sure that it still works. So let's see, conform to, so 061. And what is the, it's right here. So 063, I think as long as I don't update that, it's gonna be fine. Because what I'm looking for is 07. Yeah, so we'll just not upgrade that yet. And I don't have to deal with it. Okay. Back over here, it is running. So let's go over here. Charity activations, yay! Sign in with Okta. I think this is really cool because the little thing will spin as you start signing in. Yeah, oh, and then it takes me to Okta, and it wants my code. Okay. Give me my code. No one look at my one-time password. It's fine. It's not gonna be active for long. Okay. So login seems to still work. We've still got our little hello over there. We've got our events. I think. I mean, that's the logged in part. What else did we change? We didn't really change anything else. We can see the different dashboard. Ooh, so this is all that we did at RemixConf. So we raised $228, or $228 is what CockroachDB has committed to donating, so that's pretty cool. Most of it going to Women Who Code, very popular. There we go. So back to that. I do need to kind of clean up how all of this is kind of working, or you know, what it all looks like. For the most part, it's not terrible. There are probably some components that I should switch to using, like the Radix version, the Shad CN one that I'm using on my other one. But yeah, like the navigation's not that great. Like, just click on the title to go back. Gotta decide how I want to do all that. Was there anything else? I'm trying to think. I don't know if I want to go into this yet. But we can update that branch just so it's not stale. Or I guess I need to push it. Should have opened this window up before I started streaming. Okay. So push. Get, check out, roles and permissions. Get, pull. All right. Yeah. Am I in a mood to deal with this one? This is one that I did not mark as like a fun one to do on the stream. And then all these other things are mostly infrastructure or documentation or something we haven't done yet. We're getting really close. So I'll be able to like publish this. People will be able to use it outside of us if they like. Yeah. So actually I was gonna, let's pop in and see how Epic Stack is doing it, because I think I'm gonna have to seed my roles. Yeah, like I'll at least need the admin role and the whatever we call the other one, like scanner, I think, before we could even go forward with that. So let's see what the Epic Stack is doing. Epic Stack. And so if we look at their Prisma, it looks pretty much the same. I don't think they've changed anything. So they have their role, their permission, and the user, which has multiple roles. So that might be interesting. Yeah, so a user can have multiple roles, and a role can have multiple permissions. So I guess, yeah, roles could be overlapping. But if we look at their seed file here, did they create any roles? So yeah, created admin role and permission. So here they're creating the admin role, and at the same time they're creating a permission. So they have the admin role with the admin permission, which took me a while to like wrap my head around. That's actually what was happening. And then they're just creating a bunch of users, which is fine. So yeah, so we would want to do something similar in our seed file, so that way we always make sure we start with a role, and then we could change it to where, like we just went through and we changed those auth functions to where they created the user, but we would also need to be able to have it set the initial role as basically not the admin, so they don't have all those admin roles. And then we need to come up with a good way to handle the different permissions on the front end. And I think that's going to be where we're going to need to query those out and pass them down as in the loader function. So that seems like a lot, but I don't think there's actually an example of like one of those permissions acting on the front end, because there's just the nature of this application. If you can't get to the page, then like once you get to the page, you have access to everything. They've only done like an admin role, so you can access your own stuff, but you can't really get to anybody else's stuff because it's like a little notepad. And we're going a little further. So yeah, so I think I'm gonna work on this offline, because I feel like it's gonna be me like stopping and thinking a lot about how I want to do things, and that's just not good. That's just not good TV. But yeah, let's see. What else have I... I'm getting a spam risk call. That's great. Pretty much if anybody from Indiana calls me and you're not in my phone book, then I'm just not going to answer because it's spam. Let's see. We got our components here. This is where I've started pulling in some of those shad CN ones. So these are nice. Shad CN UI. So I'm a fan of like the card. Let's look at the components. So there's the card, which is always nice to have a good card. I feel like that's a staple of most of my applications. The date picker I'm probably going to look into. I'm having a lot of problems with dates. the JavaScript object. Um, and I've been using the input type equal datetime local, and that you pull that value out as a string, but it doesn't have any of the time zone information. And I'm using timestamp TZ in Prisma, so all of my dates in the database are stored as UTC, and then I just format them using some of the nice date functions that we have because of like the date or the international dot date time stuff. But like I have the situation where everything works fine locally, but as soon as I try to do like an update or a create in the production, like it does weird things with the dates, and I'm trying to figure out like what's different. And so like locally I'm running node 18.5. I found out like on render, which is where this is being deployed to, it's running 20.3, which is not even an option for my node env right now. And so I was like, was there some major change between 18 and 20 that's messing with the dates? Yeah, I don't know. Like, and I do have Zod kind of fixing the date, so I've changed the way that works, trying to see. But I'm pretty sure like any date object that I pass in to Prisma, it will convert to UTC as long as it has the right date time information. So I think it's something about that conversion from the form input, which is a string, to a JavaScript date, especially because it's not giving us like the time zone information. So digging into that to figure out what's going on there, but it's weird. Nothing mission critical. I don't know. For some of the things for that project, I'm just going directly into the database and changing it because like I just need you to see the stuff down here. Man, what else do I want to do today? It's like it would be nice to like start working on a different project. I am working with the Corgis of New York meetup, so I'm going to be putting together a little website for them so we can keep track of our members and do our voting. So it's all of New York City, and they try to move around to different dog parks, and they do that by letting people vote. Right now it's voting via Instagram, which if your meetup account is also kind of like an influencer account, you could be getting people who are voting that has no intention of going, and it might cause some people to miss out. And so we want to handle that. I'd like to be able to do like ranked choice voting, so pick your dog parks in the order 1 through 4, and then pick the dates and times from the one that you want the best to the one that you want the least. And so that way I feel like we could make it a little bit more fair, but we could also do some fun things with the website, like maybe having early on in my time here at CockroachDB, I was building the Corgi catalog, but we could do kind of a Corgi catalog for the different members. So register your Corgis and their Instagram accounts or whatever, and you'll be able to catalog through them. But also there's some interesting things. We might want to try to use text to do some of it, and I really want to make it to where I don't have to have everybody log in. So if I can get away with just sending links that are specific to the people in the email with the email or whatever, that would be a good way to do it. Otherwise, I'd probably want to do something like the passwordless authentication, but trying to do things for free. So I'm trying not to pay for a lot of services, because a lot of them that I've looked at, they have not so great of a free tier, and then there's a huge jump to the first kind of pay level. And this is a not-for-profit. They don't even have sponsors. There's no money, and it's not officially a not-for-profit yet. But I don't know. It's just something fun. So I don't know. Maybe I'll stream some of that. We of course will be using CockroachDB to store all this information, but probably just on a single region because I don't really care about the experience for people outside of New York. Yeah. I think I'm gonna call it for today. I got some things done. I cleaned up some code. I think it's important to have kind of this all like as cleaned up as possible because I'm gonna use like this is kind of my like trying things out for what I'm gonna end up calling the Rochella stack, which is going to be, you know, a quick way to spin up an application that's global. And so kind of using this as the test for like how are we going to do it, where are we going to recommend people deploy, things like that. And then, hey, it'd be easier for me to start up new projects because you can just, you know, put in your CockroachDB database URL and run your migration and go. So working on that. So that's where ultimately I want to be. And so I'm just trying to make sure that like this ends up being nice and clean. Not so much the UI, because that's not the UI that's going to, you know, continue with that with the Rochella stack, but you know all the other little pieces. Yeah, so I've got some things to do offline. I just need to attack that README and get something there. It doesn't have to be very much. Just needs to not be like the README that came with the generated site. And then think more about the roles and permissions and how I'm going to handle all of that. I think I have a good start to do it. I just need to think through it a little bit more. And then on Friday with Rob, we're going to be going to multi-region database, which is going to be really fun because that is going to open up, you know, some niceties for our friends across the pond. So whenever we do events in the EU, they can still use this and they'll know that any lead data that we collect will stay in their region. So yeah, that's nice. And if you are like, what's this multi-region database stuff? You should definitely check out Silo. Let's see if I can CockroachDB Silo. There it is. The Art of Data Residency and Application Architecture. So this is a really cool application that Rob and Paul put together to explain about multi-region. Paul did a lot of work on this, and there's another blog post for that he put out about how to deploy your application multi-region using lambdas, multi-region lambdas. So that's really cool. Did a lot of work on that. If that's something that you want to do, deploy your app using multi-region lambdas in AWS. That's probably the guide that you're going to want to look at. So let me just, I can't paste it over there. It's a different computer. But yeah, The Art of Data Residency and Application Architecture. I need to figure this out. Yeah, written by Paul Scanlon and Rob Reed. But go play with it. You can like build little art, and then if you log in with like your GitHub or LinkedIn, you can save it, and it saves it to the region that's relevant to you, and then you can kind of see how like data can become partitioned. It's fun. But yeah, all of that stuff. Ramble. Thank you for joining me today. Yeah, I will be back next week, right? Yes. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. So I'll be back next week with kind of the results from Friday. Feel free to join us Friday. Ask all of your questions. Stump Rob. I mean, good luck. But yeah, go back to the monologue here before we end. And I slapped myself and I didn't realize it. It didn't hurt, but I looked over and I saw like the delayed video. That's fun. Yeah, so as my British friends say, TTFN. Bye, y'all. Wow. Wow, that would have been really great. I gotta figure out why that button's not working. Okay, let's pretend that didn't happen, and I say TTFN. Bye, y'all.